In this tutorial, we'll first create a single laser blast and then turn it into a barrage of laser fire. Start off by dropping a blank emitter down onto the stage. Rename it to Laser. Hop into Properties and rename the particle type Main Blast. We'll drop the life property down to around 6. The laser blast will be moving fairly fast, so each particle doesn't have to last very long. Next, increase the velocity up by hitting the N key and inputting 2000. Now our particles start heading off at a high speed in all directions. Let's get them all heading in the same direction by dropping the emission range from 360 to 0. Now the particles are headed the right way, but they're moving so fast that we can barely see them. To fix that, select the number graph and increase that until the stream of particles thickens out. $1200 works fine. At this point, it's a good idea to turn on Intense so that the beam glows. Now we could change the color of the beam in the Colors tab, but we can also do that by changing the tint color in the Main Properties window. By changing the tint color, we can affect all the particle types at the same time. We'll take a light blue for now. You'll notice the beam is still white, so head to the tint strength graph and increase that to around 50. The beam itself is still looking a little soft, so we'll duplicate the particle type and rename it to Glow Blast. This type will make our beam a little thicker and have a bit of a soft glow around it. To adjust it, change the first point on the Color tab to a light gray and increase the size graph to around 30. Now let's take a look at our emitter. To make the emitter a single laser blast, there's only one more thing to do. In the emitter's number graph, set a keyframe at frame 10 with a value of 100 and another keyframe at frame 11 with a value of 0. This will make the beam fire for 10 frames before the emitter stops creating particles. Now let's pretend our hero is running away from an army of soldiers. We need a lot of laser fire to add some drama to the scene. One blast alone won't be enough. We could copy the laser emitter and paste it for each laser blast we need in the scene. But then we'd have to paste them at different times, adjust each emitter's size so that they don't look like they're all coming from the same place, etc, etc, etc. It would be a time-consuming task. The faster and more automated way of doing it would be to convert our existing emitter into a super emitter. We'll begin by going into our number graph and resetting the keyframes we just set. Now the laser beam fires continuously again. Next, right-click on the emitter in the hierarchy window and choose Make Super Emitter. Hitting play shows a really thick beam of lasers. Stopping it shows what's going on. All the free emitters are traveling to the right. We want the beams to be firing from all over the screen, not just from one spot. So right-click on the emitter and choose Make Line. Move the point so that the line is vertical. Hitting play again shows us that we now have a lot of laser beams, but they are traveling up and down as they fire, and the overall effect looks a little weird. To get them to fire straight ahead, go to the F velocity graph and drop it down to 0. To adjust the length of each laser blast, lower the F life graph. To make each blast look like it's coming from different depth, go to the F zoom variation and increase it. Now each free emitter is zoomed to a different size, so the smaller ones seem to travel slower and the larger ones move faster. We'll leave it at about 50, but you can push it even further. To give the blasts random lengths, you can increase the f-life variation graph. Now to break up the uniform look of the blasts, open up the glow blast particle type and increase the size variation. The higher you go, the rougher the look of the blast will be.